Okay, welcome everybody to this evening's ACY Securities webinar. My name is Duncan Cooper. Tonight's webinar is Forex Trading Live Market Analysis. Coming up from me this week on the webinar front, tomorrow will be how to determine the market trend across multiple time frames, 8 p.m. City time. And then on Thursday, I've got more live analysis. So book it in your diary if you want to join me for those other webinars. All right, for this evening, if you can all read through the disclaimer, if on our YouTube live stream, I cannot see the chat, but you're more than welcome to watch. I've given you the webinar link there. You can join us in the webinar if you wish to, so you can ask questions. For those in the webinar, I've got the chat box open, the Q&A box open, so you can talk to me through those chat methods. All right, so just read through the disclaimer before we move along. All right, I might move along now. If you don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. If I can get my PowerPoint to move along. Just having a few technical issues at the moment. All right, here we go. All right, so if you don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. I'm the Senior Market Strategist and Trading Mentor here at ACY Securities, and I am a full-time trader. Been trading the Forex market now for more than 15 years, getting close to 20. Mentoring for more than 10. If you want to contact me, my email is there, duncan.cooper@acy.com. And through the week, you can connect with me on our website. Go to acy.com, go to the Market News tab, or our YouTube channel, ACY Securities Australia. If you want to connect with me personally, just head over to my Linktree page there. You can connect with me on social media. You'll find my links there. And if you want to get access to my chart layouts and templates for MT4 that I'm using in the webinar, just contact Nathan.bray. I'll put his details in the chat now. You can contact Nathan if you have any questions. It's just going in the chat now. Here we go. All right, that's all the housekeeping done. So let's just get into the news items for the week. All right, so a few technical issues on my own screen at the moment. All right, hopefully I'm not going to have any further problems this evening. All right, so I'm at forexfactory.com time, showing my time, Queensland time. So I'm just going to take you through the red items over the next couple of days. Tonight we have the US durable goods orders, 11:30 p.m. That could definitely drive the market. Then, as we move into the early morning, 1 o'clock for the US CB consumer confidence. For the Aussie crosses tomorrow morning, inflation figures, CPI year on year, 10:30 a.m. my time. 11 o'clock we have the New Zealand official cash rate, policy statement, rate statement. Not expecting any change there. Of course, these items from the Aussie and New Zealand are all about, well, CPI is about whether or not interest rates should be moving up or down. And then we have the interest rate decision for New Zealand. So these two items could affect both Aussie and New Zealand crosses. They tend to react a little bit together. Later on Wednesday evening, 11:30 p.m. for the US, we've got the prelim GDP QQ. And then I'll be back on board on Thursday doing more analysis, but you can just scroll through the whole week. We have German prelim CPI coming out. Doesn't give a specific time on Thursday for the Eurozone. Canadian GDP, US core PC price index, unemployment claims at 11:30 on Thursday. China manufacturing on Friday at 11:30 a.m. That will most definitely affect the Aussie crosses and potentially the New Zealand crosses. And then early Saturday morning, 1 o'clock, US ISM manufacturing PMI. So a number of data points coming out, all can affect the market. So be aware what's coming out, what could affect the pairs that you're trading, and at least 24 hours ahead. We don't have the job figures for the US on the 1st of the month. That's going to be coming in on the 8th of the month. So there's no job figures, even though it is the first day of the month on Friday. All right, so let's get to the charts now. Market's maybe a little bit uncertain long term at the moment about the direction of the US dollar. We're having a bit of a pullback. So if we just have a look at the weekly chart, in fact, the monthly chart is the very dominant part of the monthly chart is an inverse head and shoulders here, forming from a higher top up here. So nothing changes. Are we moving up long term? All right, and we pull back to 79% level. To the weekly chart, we've moved up to a higher top and we're having some form of correction of this range here. So how deep a correction have we got? We did, by the end of the week last week, managed to hold on this area of weekly support, 103.60, and we're very close to that level at the moment. So that will be the level to watch if you're monitoring the dollar index. What does it do? Around about 103.60. On the day chart here, Thursday last week, we had a massive rejection down there, and we've been above ever since. And in fact, there's a potential here for this day chart level to hold today, 103.71. Whilst it's not a perfect looking head and shoulder pattern, this could be a little left shoulder, this could be a head here, and we could hold here for a right shoulder to move up. So that might be a little bit more notable on the 4-hour chart here. All right, that was a very significant reaction up. This spike down's come down to fill some form of imbalance in here. And so we, between 103.70 down and 103.60 this week, does that area offer support for a move back up the range with the potential for left shoulder, inverse head, right shoulder, maybe falling over this side here a little bit. So it's not a perfect looking one, but I can see where support is and where we've false broken support. So we could get support here in this area to move back up. Now, if we do, we see pairs to the US dollar starting to move down, and pairs last week to the US dollar were moving up. All right, S&P 500. This is the weekly look. If we go to the monthly chart, there's the all-time high that was. So there's no question where the trend is, but we're at the all-time high. So it's always difficult. If you're not already in, do you want to be buying at the all-time high or very close to? So 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, we have 7 weeks up. So we potentially could be at the top of the move. And as I've been saying, for me, if I wanted to trade something at 7 weeks up, with the trend, I'd need to see a pullback. So to the day chart, I need to see maybe a 62% retracement back to supports. Of course, the market's miles away from there at the moment. It's starting to maybe change to a downtrend here, but then it picked back up last week. The likes of Nvidia had, I think, very good profit reporting, and we pushed back up. So, even on the day chart ranges at the moment, you don't want to wait for a longer term weekly pullback. At least wait for a day chart range pullback. Can we pull back to the 62.79% area for then the next move up? So, do you want to be buying up? I don't want to be buying so high up. I'm always looking for, a Fibonacci pullback area zone where I can be buying at some kind of discount rather than buying, very close to the highest prices ever traded at. All right, so I would be looking for a dip there if I wanted to trade that. Quite clear the trend is up. All right, let's get into the currencies. So the euro dollar. Now I put this in. This is my 4-hour chart. This is the imbalance that I was showing last week. We came up to maybe feel the most of that. In fact, all of it, because we did actually get a little bit above there. So I'm going to get rid of that fib. So we came up just a little bit above here, but it's worth noting that, when you get a large imbalance, that was the job figures of February. And then we came down. So we've come all the way back up to fill the imbalance. And we're back up to daily resistance. So to the day chart, back up to this old area of support, 108.76. Rejected it last, what was that now? Thursday. And Friday, Monday, Tuesday, we're trading back up, but we're within the range of that Thursday rejection. So I'm just monitoring did we fail Thursday? So the candle range is here. And in a perfect world, it'd be great if this could come up to 108.69. That's a 79% fib. Maybe up to retest for a final time the daily resistance level, 108.76, but we're not quite there yet. So just levels that I'm watching at the moment. Of course, if you're really aggressive, you could have been getting short up here last week. So that's quite clearly where the sellers are. The weekly trend is down. So the high time frame trends are down. So this movement back up here has just been corrective. Are we going to top out in this area? So this is the area I'm watching. 108.76, 108.69, that area there. Can we come into that area? Or we don't have to get up there. The market will always be right. But that would be an area that I would be watching. I may have to reassess if we can't get up there. If I start to see price action hold here and then start to sell off over the next 24 hours, I may then have to look for some form of, if we do get a nice sell off and we don't get up to the area I'm watching, I may then have to wait for it to sell off, look for it to come back up, and then look to sell a rally. All right, so at the moment, it's still holding its uptrend there on the 15 minutes. So just monitoring that area at the moment for a possible failure this week to then move down. And moving down, there's an area of support at 108.05 from the day chart. Looking for some kind of pattern like that this week. All right, Euro yen. Now, Euro yen has been holding, or is holding its uptrend. It is coming down today to fill some kind of imbalance that got formed through here, where we broke above the 163 level. And it's difficult to some extent. We're very high priced at the moment. Do you want to be buying at such high prices? So let's just go through the time frames. The monthly trend here, let's get rid of that fib. We have broken below a minor monthly swing point low here. So potentially, I'm going to squash this in. We're at very high levels from previous years where price reacted and sold off. An area here, this area here, selling off. So we're very high levels, but we do maybe have a minor change in trend here on the monthly. That did break a swing point there. And if we can't take out this top, we could actually put in a lower top here to the right. Now, the weekly trend is up. It's known to be come up to test the first lower top from this decline down. So if you drop to the day chart, yesterday we traded maybe a pip above here yesterday. So there's a potential for a double top area there. We actually sold down in the early part of the day and then had an outside reversal day up. So I don't know whether that was once we broke above the high of Friday, a whole bunch of stops got triggered. But today, we're not able to follow through. So if we break, doesn't have to happen today, but if we break Monday's low this week, that may well start to confirm a reversal from this area. We're very high up. 162.42, go back to your monthly chart, is this top here. So that could offer support on a pullback this week. If we move back below that level though, then maybe that would be a sign that we are reversing from such a high area. All right, so you have to work out what side of the market you're on at the moment. Do you want to be about at such high levels? Now, if we cut back down to 162.42, some form of correction this week, and that held, that could be an area to look for a reversal back up. And can you see you're set up to buy if 162.42 gets tested and holds this week? Anything for me, really, you could look intraday at the moment for a buy if you're prepared to buy higher up. So to the 4-hour chart, we have a 4-hour uptrend here. All right, and we're almost at the 62 level, so you can watch the 62 to 79% area here for support to come in. As I said before, we're just filling this imbalance. Very strong move up above 163. So 163 overlaps with the 62 level at 162.99. So that's the buy area at the moment, down to this pivot as well at 162.96. That would be the buy area if you're wanting to be on the buy side. All right. If you're more that you think price is so high up and you'd like to see price reverse down, what we would look for. So that's the buy side at the moment. Yes, that's on the 4-hour trend. Yes, if we got down to 162.42, the monthly level, what happens down there, the support come in for then a move back up as well. From the sell perspective, because we could be forming a double top here, often you can get an outside candle to the upside at the end of a run where stops are going off and people have the fear of missing out and they just want to get in because they think all these highs are going to get taken out, and then they don't. So looking at this just from a pure trend change, if you can see a 4-hour trend change, we don't have a we don't have a lower top, a lower bottom. We don't have a lower bottom coming up to maybe form a lower top. But if we can get some form of rally back up and retest, so if price was to come up in some form, we're actually false breaking last week's high at the moment. So if we could get a rally back up to retest last week's high again, and if it starts to turn over intraday, then you might start to see some kind of left shoulder, head, right shoulder to indicate maybe we are topping out up here at the moment. All right, so I would need to see some more price action before I can say, are we topping out up here? But we are at very high price points at the moment. So you have to decide, do you want to be buying so high up, or would you rather see at least some form of sell-off? Now, if we can get a sell-off, then I think, if this does hold and we start to see a nice 4-hour downtrend developing, then, first more recent level of support now is here. That's broken resistance. That's actually a weekly high, 160.186. Is can we come down to this area and have some form of corrective measure down to there? If we started getting support there this week, maybe that would be a support point then to trade back up to retest this area to break higher. All right, so we'll just have to wait and see how price can map itself out. I just know that the last time we tested this point just here, all right, we fell over 1,000 pips. All right, so it wouldn't be a stretch of imagination to see price hold here and do the exact same thing. All right, we may see that price wants to hold in maybe a major range, this being at the top and this being the bottom. All right, so just watching price action at the moment. If we were to get an inside day today, let's say the day doesn't do too much today now and then closes, we have an inside day after a very strong rush up, maybe just trading the break of the inside day tomorrow could be the start of the confirmation that we're going to at least reverse back down maybe to 160.186 in the short term. Okay. All right, Euro pounds, which is a bit awkward at the moment. It's still very much low down, although it's getting support now on this weekly low, this old weekly low. And we have pulled back 62%, but we're not at that level. We're already trading up. So today, if we were to pull back intraday to this weekly low, 85.43. So if we could get down to 85.43 today, you could look on an intraday chart for support there to continue a move up. We've probably, it's not probably about it. We traded up to this point. It's a higher top. This is a higher bottom forming. We're probably having an uptrend here at the moment towards the 127 extension before maybe having a pullback. And I've been saying that we could have an uptrend moving up this way now to this zone, which is an old weekly area here, broken support, been resistance, and back up into this close to the 79% area of this move down. Because on the weekly chart, we've moved down, we've rallied, we've moved down. So we're in the rally phase at the moment on the weekly chart. So we're going to have a day chart uptrend to get to those high levels. So if you like the euro pound, sometimes it can be very range bound. Then, if we drop down to a 4-hour chart, maybe putting in a high bottom here already, but it's had a stab today already of trying to get down to 85.43 and couldn't quite get there. So that would be the area I'd be watching if I wanted to trade. What happens down here? Does it hold a support to trade back up? That's the buying area at the moment. And the day chart trend at the moment is up. So I think you're looking for buys in the short term. All right, that's an area I would watch. To the pound, not too dissimilar than the euro dollar, although this hasn't moved up as high. It hasn't, the euro dollar came up. That's the same imbalance that I was discussing on the 4-hour chart on the euro dollar. This is the pound 4-hour chart. Euro dollar got above its imbalance last week. We've got nowhere near. We've only actually held at the 62% level of the weekly range. So if you go to your weekly chart, this range here, so 128.24 down to a lower bottom here, 125.17, and then we're correcting back up. So this is just corrective at the moment. The weekly trend is down. Okay, and we're holding at 62 level. So go to your day chart. 62 level is where we tagged last week and held. Now, since Thursday, all the trading's within Thursday's candle, very much like on the euro dollar. Is that the topping out high on Thursday? From the weekly swings, that was the weekly down move. This is corrective. Are we going to be doing something like so? We're going to put in a lower top on the weekly scale at the 62 area. Now the day chart trend is still up at the moment. Same with the euro dollar. The day chart trend is up, but we're definitely in areas where we could top out and be maybe forming a weekly lower top over the next week or so. So we'll have to monitor. A few data points coming out from the US this week, so that will, I'm sure, start to tell a story. So at the moment, if I was wanting to trade the pounds, this drop down here, assuming we failed at 62% level and we can't trade above last week's high, 79% of this sell-off down, we've been trading back up within the range for the last 3 days. And we've been getting above the 79% level, falling back down. So we've done that 3 times now. This current candle's maybe doing the same thing for the 3rd time. So 126.87 is a 79% level there. Are we topping out? So, 79% retracement trade here. Are we sold off? Are we rolling back up to 79% level? Granted, we've had three goes at this area, but are we moving down? So, you could be trading at 79% level, stop, say, 10 pips above last week's high in case last week's high gets tested. And is this area going to hold? And are we trading down this week? All right, not too much news. I don't think I read out before any news from the UK. That's just UK news. So there's only maybe then US news that can really affect pound dollar. So it's worth watching up here, 127 to 127.09 as well. We could retest that area if you're waiting for a higher level. Then that's most definitely a good area to watch for a reversal down. That's quite clear where the sellers took control last week. All right, so whilst the day trend is up, I'm focusing on where I think the weekly rally may top out, and can I get myself set for the next weekly decline. All right, so we could be topping out there around about the 126.87 level. So you need to make a decision if you want to trade around that level. If we're looking at the 15-minute chart, I'm just starting to see a 50-minute trend change here. There's a trend line break. There's a swing point break here. So could be selling, just putting your stop above the intraday high at the moment. This could be the high of the day. This has actually just come up on the 15-minute chart and filled an imbalance that got formed there of last week. So a bit of order filling is coming up to fill. Well, that's actually from yesterday's trade, not last week. That's Monday. This is Tuesday. And of that little sell down yesterday, we're probably filling as well as 79% level here too. All right, so we could just be putting that. Maybe we're putting in the high of the day. All right. So if you want to get short the pound, you need to make a decision. Pound yen, much like the euro yen, very strong. This is the strongest one because this is actually up to a new high. There on the weekly to a new high of the current move up. On the monthly, we're managing at the moment to hold above these two monthly tops now. It's not a given though that we're going to hold above these tops. We're at very high levels. So at high levels, people take profits, selling pressure is going to come in. So I get very nervous at such high levels to be a buyer. Not seeing anything to do on the sell side, but I'm just stating the fact that we're at very high levels. When you get to historical price points, we often get a turnaround. So weekly chart, yes, the trend is up. These two lines are those monthly levels, 189.70 and 188.80. And the day chart here is in an uptrend. So trend is up until it's not. Current range on the day chart's there. So if I wanted to be a buyer at such high levels, I would need to see this do, kind of a textbook 62 to 79% retracement. 79% retracement gets us back into these highs and sitting on one of those monthly tops at 188.80. So that would be an area that I would watch for the pullback this week. We're going to maintain the trends, and you want to trade with the trends. This would be the support area. 79% levels at 188.68. The monthly support's at 188.80. 62 level there at 189.24. 79 level 188.68. So that zone there. Want to stay with a long-term trend at the moment? That would be the area as well. We got last month's high from over here in that area too. So that could be a very strong area of support if we could get down to that level. All right. Okay, the Aussie yen. Now, late last year, I said watch the yearly highs of 2022, 2023. Yearly high of 2023 was 98.58. So if we just go to the day chart, it's this high here. Go to the weekly chart. That's 2023 high. That's 2022 high. We had a rejection at the 2022 high when we put in the 23 high and sold down. And yes, we traded above both of those highs, but we're not below both, but we're below the 23 high at the moment. All right, so we are still in an uptrend, but what we're starting to see is that the buyers can't hold the market. They're struggling to hold above last year's high. We have traded below both of the highs today. And I did note a little bit earlier that we have had a rally intraday from a sell-off intraday, and we're pretty much stopped at the 23 high. So if you go to the 4-hour chart, from lower top to lower bottom, we've been running back up, and that's the retest of the 23 high there. And there's also 4-hour resistance here. All right, so this little area here, if I just map it out for you, this is how the market maybe changes its trend in these areas. We broke above, get my drawing tool to draw. Broke above. All right. Get to select. Broke above. We did pull back below a little bit there, but that really became support. All right, to move back above. Did get a bit more support yesterday, but then we put in a lower top and we're starting to now erode through here. Then we're coming back up to retest. So this is probably the retest here to be moving down now, maybe towards 97.87. So whether or not we come back up to 98.58 today, but if we do, at the moment, it's starting to show you that maybe we are topping out certainly the 4-hour chart at that area. And, you know, we can often have a major failure at last year's high and a major failure at last year's low. So at the moment, we're potentially failing at last year's high, and often you can get a major reversal from the area. So you need to work out what you want to do. All right, so in fact, just want to go back to my 4-hour chart. There's the 4-hour range at the moment, which is down to the 15. We've just been into the 62.79% area, topping out, failing at the central pivot back below. It is really, if you're starting to maybe think that we are failing, then 98.58, 62 level there, 54. If price could get back into that zone there, it would definitely be worth looking for your setup to sell, because at the moment we're failing. You know, this intraday rally back up's failed here in the short term. In fact, this may now use a smaller range. So let's just drag this range across here. Now, if we came back up 79% level, this smaller range is at 98.56. So this little area here, get back up to that area, you can get a tight entry of maybe selling at the 79% level. So stop above the high. Wouldn't have to risk too much there. We wouldn't be risking more than 20 pips maximum. It's probably more like 15. And you might be able to get a very tight entry for maybe a longer term move down. All right. So you can monitor to see what other price can get back up to there and what happens when it gets back to there. Now, in terms of where it might be going this week, back to the 4-hour chart. Get rid of this fib. All right, back to my 4-hour. I'll go to the daily. So the big question will be today, what happens in this zone? If we close below that area today, we can still get a retest of 98.43 to 58 tomorrow. But if we start to close below there on a daily basis, we're probably coming down to test this high for support. So then there's this zone here. Does this area offer support to then move back up? If we close below this area, we're probably going to start to see a major failure of this high point here. And then the question would be, do we start to see a complete change? And are we going to come down to test this low or that low? That's where we moved down to when we failed here. All right, so when we last time we failed at this price point, we moved down to there. So it wouldn't be a stretch if we fail here to see price move back down to there. All right. So it'll be interesting this week to see how this starts to sell off or not. It is, as I say, intraday at the moment, just starting to show maybe that think I have my fib drawn from there. Just want to read. Oh, it was from that one. So that's the bigger fib range that's operating on the 4-hour chart. And then there may be a smaller one here if we come back up for a rally. All right. On to the Aussie. And Lachlan, you're asking me, could the Aussie sell off separately to the other yen crosses? Well, it could, depending on the CPI data tomorrow. The CPI data comes out tomorrow, like lower. That would potentially mean that maybe we're not going to get any interest rate hikes, and maybe we're going to get a cut at some time. That would be negative for the Aussie dollar and the Aussie yen. Everything's around the market's anticipation about what's happening to interest rates. Whilst we're not getting any cuts at the moment, what does the data say? Does the data kind of implicate, give you the implication that maybe rates are just going to hold as they are? Could they go up or could they get lowered? So yeah, the Aussie yen could sell off and the pound yen and euro yen may not sell off. Now, if no data comes out, say from the UK or the Eurozone suggesting that interest rates are going to get a cut sooner rather than later, pound yen and euro yen could still remain bullish, remain high. Whereas if the data comes out negative for the Aussie, for sure, the Aussie yen can sell off separately to the, if the Aussie dollar has a strong sell-off tomorrow. So when I'm looking at the Aussie yen here, I just know that when we're testing a yearly high, we can get a significant sell-off. So we'll have to wait and see. All right. Now the Aussie, my long-term view, if I go to the monthly chart, is we're simply putting in a lower top. And I'm anticipating that until the market doesn't change its trend, we are potentially putting this lower top, and we're going to break down through support areas and continue maybe down. So what that looks like on the weekly chart, here's the monthly range. And this looks very similar to the New Zealand dollar too. Came up beyond the 79% level, and we came down then into weekly support. We've been holding on weekly support, but we did break below this. We did trade below this little area here, so I'm classing this as a lower bottom. So this is some form of correction. That was an outside candle to that one, so there's a very minor weekly top high here. All right, so today chart. So that's the minor weekly top high there. So I'm anticipating that long term we're moving down with the monthly trend. It's not easy going though on the Aussie because the data keeps, market keeps thinking maybe we can get an interest rate cut, and sometimes it thinks we're going to get a hike, and we're not able to erode through 65.22 and 65.11, which is an old area of weekly support and resistance. And we've been holding in this range from high to low. I said last week, what's the 79% level, trading up here into all these wicky candles to the left. You should be finding sellers in this zone here. And yes, we have held there. Now, it's quite difficult at the moment on a number of these pairs. It's like the euro dollar, the pound dollar, and this pair, and I'm sure the New Zealand dollar is. The weekly trends are down and the daily trends are up. Now, it is possible for the daily trend to continue up, 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 and eventually the weekly trend will turn up. But that's not the case that we have at the moment. We have a weekly trend that's down. When we get the corrective phase of the weekly rally, the day trend will be up. So the question is, this week into next week, is the day trend going to change back to down in line with the weekly? And this looks like a possible failure here at 79% level. With tomorrow's data, at the moment, we're not prepared to break below the weekly area of support at 65.22 down to 65.11, because you can see today's candle couldn't quite get down there and it's already started to trade up. So buying pressure is coming in ahead of tomorrow's data. Don't know what tomorrow's data will bring, but I'm more on the sell side because of the high time frame trends. And if we get a revisit, I'll just be watching tomorrow to see whether we can get a revisit of 65.85. We could test yesterday, last week's high. But if we do come up here on volatility and then we start to want to hold at 65.85, we could come up to 66. Last week we were a fraction short, I think, of 66. So, I would be watching up here for a failure this week to come down and then trade down through. All right. But of course, there's a number of data points coming out from the USA as well. But, of course, the CPI is the big one from the Aussie this week, which is definitely going to affect the Aussie dollar for sure. And depending on what the data is, we could come up to test this area, 6621 area here. Just because, let me draw a candle in, because this is where traders can get very confused about trends. This is a day chart trend up at the moment. If we get a candle up tomorrow and it trades above these two highs to the left, that doesn't mean we're going up to here, because we could by the end of the day not be trading above those two highs, not just be a complete false break. But you'll be going, well, that's a higher top though to those tops. Well, yes, it is, but if it's not holding above, it's probably going to be a false break and will then reverse all the way back down the range. So this would also be a very good area to watch for a test, a reverse. All right. Really, if you want to be on the buy side of this pair, early in the day when we were coming down close to weekly support, you should have been starting to look down there for your opportunity to buy, because you want to be buying at supports and selling at resistance. All right, so resistance is coming in and around the 79% area here. And of course, I would expect resistance up at this area up here at 66.23, 21 and 23 there. All right, so a couple of areas to watch after tomorrow's data. All right, New Zealand yen, been one of the stronger yen pairs. It is getting very close. Not too dissimilar to the Euro yen, although we're above this. Sorry, let me start again because I was thinking I was on the day chart, so just disregard what I said about the Euro yen. So New Zealand yen here, we're above this monthly top. We could false break or at very high levels. This is the 2014. Let's squash this in. That's a 2014 high. There's more highs right over here to the left from back in 89. So when we were there last time, well, back in 89, we sold off. When we try to trade above, we false broke and trade straight back down the range. Came back up, trade down, back into the same sell zone. This is a sell zone for sure for long-term traders. Of course, the monthly trend is up, but it's a historical sell zone. So, I know it may be hard for traders to think, okay, I should be getting myself set for maybe a sell when the monthly trend is up, the weekly trend is up here by tops and bottoms, and the day trend is up. But the monthly high at 92.40, if you want to be a buyer at such high historical levels, I will be watching that level for price to come down to be then support intraday. Can you trade a reversal back up? If, like I was saying, on the Aussie yen, if we close below the 23 high, we're probably reversing. If we close below 92.40, then we're at least coming maybe down to 91.85. And we could be coming down to 91.51 here, this high here. All right, so whilst, yes, it's in an uptrend, when the market backs the monthly chart, well, if the market false breaks a significant price point, we often get a reversal. All right, now we can wait for the first lower top to form on a day chart. So we can wait for, we don't have to get aggressive. We can wait for this to come down, and wherever it forms a lower top, if it does, then you could go, okay, well, that's starting to confirm a reversal. let me start to look for my trade to go short. All right. If you're prepared to be a buyer at the moment at such high levels, you really want to pull back to 92.40, and that should hold, because that means we've traded above a monthly high. The buyers are wanting to give that high support now to continue the move up. If they don't, sellers will take control. So if you're prepared to be a buyer, watch 92.40 intraday. Notably, like we're seeing on the Aussie yen though, we are seeing a bit of a 4-hour downshift. So if you're more to the downside, you could just be waiting really for the 4-hour chart rally. So draw your fib whenever the low comes in, like I was doing on the Aussie yen, where we had a 62 to 7% retracement. Just keep dragging the fib down and wait for the next pullback to the 62 to 7% area and look to sell a rally. We're very high up at the moment. All right. So day trend is up on the New Zealand, like the Aussie, but the monthly trend is lower bottom. This is a rally up to form a lower top, and as I'm staying on the Aussie dollar, I'm expecting then that we're going down, rally, down. If we get a hint tomorrow from the New Zealand Central Bank that maybe we're getting close to rate cuts. I think I don't know if it was last week or the week before when we had their inflation, their quarterly inflation data, that was drifting down a little bit. So depending on what the central bank says after their rate statement tomorrow, to give any hint that maybe it's on the cards for a cut at some point soon. This is going to confirm this pattern that we're seeing at the moment. That the monthly trend is down, and we could well be just continuing its move downwards long term. On the weekly, we have broken below a minor weekly support low here, and this could just be then we break, bounce to move down. So there's the major fib range. We've now got this range here. So this has been the first sell-off since first big. Get my drawing tool, not selecting. That's been the first major sell-off. We're coming up in some form, like so. All right, at the moment, the buyers are being able to, break resistance, become support. You can see there's a bit of support coming here on the day chart at the moment. And if you follow my analysis, I'm always looking, if I have a sell bias, I do to this pair long term, then I would be looking, drawing a fib across that range. And the data points coming out this week, of course, the New Zealand one tomorrow. It'd be nice if price could come up the range more. We've got that 79% level here. Got this one, so that's at 27.74 overlapping with with resistance there. So that would be a great level to watch. Got the 62.98 level up there. Can some news volatility this week just get us up to a higher selling level for a longer term trade? All right. That's what I'm monitoring at the moment up here. Now, it might not give me what I want. Maybe we don't rally. Maybe the level of support that we're watching at the moment here, after tomorrow's news item, we move below. Then through the course of the week, I would then be looking at these highs for a rally back to trade down to test these lows, and can we continue the monthly chart trend down? All right, that's the scenarios that I'm looking at the moment. So with the likes of the New Zealand crosses, the Aussie crosses, with the CPI data coming out for the Aussie crosses, and then the interest rate coming out for the New Zealand crosses, I'm not going to take a position ahead of those data points because I don't know what the data points are going to bring. So it's just too risky. If we were already up here, then I might be prepared to take a trade and put my stop above the high up here. Not take too large a position with too much risk, and be accepting of where the longer term trend is, and taking a position at a high sell area. But at the moment, I'm not at a perfect picture sell zone to maybe decide to take that position. All right, dollar Canadian, rather range bound. It is, wow, it's holding to this range on the day chart, 34.12 up to 135.85. Last week I said watch the 79% level. I did step down there on Thursday and held. You can see it's very range bound. For a good 2 weeks, it's been holding in this range that I've got drawn in. And personally, I'd be looking at a different pair at the moment. It's not that easy going. But let's just drop it down to the 4-hour chart. 4-hour trend is up. Don't really need that there anymore. And we could, let's go back to the day chart. We could, in terms of the trend pattern unfolding here, whilst it's very kind of zigzagging through here, the longer term picture could be kind of like this at the moment. All right. If we break last week's low, then that will probably negate that picture. Now when we move to the 4-hour chart, we're seeing a 4-hour uptrend. So now watching the fib zone, 62 to 79% area here. We actually got a 62% level from this range, low to high there, 134.78, 79% level of 134.75 of this range. So, almost overlapping down there. That's another zone to watch, but that would be a tighter area to watch. Are we going to see that 4-hour range hold on a pullback? To continue the trend up. Now, it's very difficult. If that's what price can do, you have to be very careful of all these highs to the left because it's very range bound. Quite clear sellers are selling at these highs, keeping the market in this contained area. So not the easiest pair at the moment. Maybe it's got a slight upward bias. So if it does, then look to buy it at low pullbacks. Okay. Dollar franc, this is the area I've been watching. May get down there this week, depending on the news items getting released. But you can see for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Since we closed there, it hasn't got, you can see it's very flat and sideways here. It's got nothing going for it at such high levels within this range from there to there. So I would look for a deeper move down. And does it get support? 86.99 is an old monthly low from back in time. 62 levels at 86.78, and that would be an area that I would watch if it could get down there. At the moment, it's a little bit non-existent, and sometimes the pairs just stop doing anything that are worth looking at. So that's a patience game at the moment. The dollar franc, dollar yen. Now, over the last couple of weeks, I've had my fib drawn from that high to low. I've been saying watch the 79% area for failure. It's been failing slightly above there, but it hasn't been able to take the high. So if you were selling around the 79% level, stop above the high, you may have gone against you, but it is starting to come back down the range once more. 150.15, which is having a minor intraday bounce at the moment, is the weekly old high to the left. So it's a weekly chart. It's this high here, very high up. So that's the 23 high. We couldn't trade above the 22 high. We're very close to those highs, so maybe in a sell zone. Anything above 150, if you've been watching the dollar yen over the last 18 months, has been where intervention comes from the bodge. So, I can't get my head around. I know maybe this is an uptrend on the day chart, but I can't get my head around being a buyer at such high levels where the bodge comes in to intervene. All right. So I would be much preferred to see either look to try to get short close to the high, which I've been saying, the 79% level of that 4-hour range that I had drawn in. If you'd have done that, you'll be in profit at the moment. So that was that move there. So 79% level through here. Stop above the high would have held you in the trade. Now, you could be at break even by now as we test 150.15. If we trade below, if we clearly break back below 150.15 today, then over the course of the next few trading days, watch 150.15 to become maybe resistance. It could still come back up for another retest, potentially here on the 4-hour chart. Keep dragging the fib down if you keep moving down, but there's the potential there for a little bit of a... So we have traded above last week's high just, but that could be a left shoulder, head, and opposite the left shoulder or the 79% level here. We could come back up. We could bounce off here, come back up. And if we can then get a clear move below 150.15, so bounce, rally, retest, failure, can we see some kind of price action like that? Now, if that was to occur, that would assist those other yen pairs at such high levels, at least pulling back down to a lower area of support. They're very high up at the moment to be a buyer. All right, so a number of US data points coming out. If the data is coming out very weak, then of course that could be a little bit more suggestive of the fact that an interest rate cut is going to be coming at some point from the US. If the data points from the US keep coming out very strong, I can't see the dollar yen breaking down. It may well just stay sideways like it's been for since about the 12th. So last 2 weeks at the moment it's been sideways because the interest rate differential favors very much the dollar side, not the yen side. And as long as the data is not saying a sell-off, this can just go sideways at such high levels. And those that are holding the position for the interest rate are getting the interest rate every day on the rollover. So it is possible this could just stay at high levels going sideways if there's nothing coming from the US, to roll it over. All right. So that's my thoughts. Last one to look at tonight, gold. All right, this is still very much range bound, but the weekly trend is down. I've got a fib drawn across the last lower top to bottom. It's bouncing up off weekly support 2009 and has put in a lower top now just below 2070 weekly monthly resistance there. And we're at the 62% level of the decline rally. So we're going to put in a further lower top here to continue down. That's really the area to watch, 2031, I think what I was talking about last week. So at the moment, we've got an outside candle there on Friday, but then we're trading within it. Of course, we know the weekly trend is down. That's lower top to lower bottom. So you really want to be looking for, at the moment, the 4-hour trend did turn down, lower top, lower bottom, but now it's trading above there. That could be a false break. That's last week's high. We've got all these 4-hour highs to the left. Really, I think if we could just, now that's the sell zone at the moment for gold. We just traded in there on the last 4 hour candle. So if you are on an intraday chart, you're seeing an intraday failure up here. If you see a price setup that you like to trade, that's the area to watch for the sellers to take control. Can you see a setup? We don't have a lower bottom yet on the 15-minute chart, but if we started to put in a lower bottom, can we rally back up on the 15-minute chart to put in a lower top to maybe start to see this trade down from this area? So can it change the 15-minute trend and then come up to turn over? All right. And Tal, you're going to look at the euro franc, so I'll just finish on that one. All right, I haven't looked at the euro franc in a long time. All right. So with the data I've got on my charts, it's telling me we're at the all-time low there. Whether or not there's more data to the left, I don't know, but I'm getting a bit of a false break on monthly support at the moment. 94.05. Weekly trend has turned up. Notably, we're probably at the 127 extension at the moment, so this could be a little bit overextended to the upside and may need to pull back within the new range it's forming. But you see it's moving up. Day trend is up. Day chart high here. I don't know what you're doing, but I would say at the moment, trend is up on the weekly and daily. This could be a stumbling block for sure for the pair. 95.45. But I'm not seeing anything to say just jump out and sell. But as I said before, there's the weekly range. So that's the weekly outward move, pullback, next outward move at the 127 extension. So this is the sell zone area of where people should be taking profits. So over the next day or two, if we do start to hold here and the 4 hour trend starts to roll over, then we could then be looking, at that's the current new weekly higher bottom here. We could see from this low up to that high a retracement back down this range. But at the moment, we don't have a 4 hour downtrend or anything turning over. But if I was looking at it logically at the moment, we're in the profit taking phase of the current weekly upward move. And whilst it continue up, it's not in the perfect area to look for a buy at the moment, I don't think. I'd be much happier to see this. The big swings are here. This is most definitely a sell area with a high there. Does this then pull back to then do something like that? All right, that's my viewpoint at the moment. I think it's very high up for the buyers at the moment. Doesn't mean to say the price can't continue, but if we start to see a day chart candle pattern here forming at this high, that could be the telltale sign that we're going to get at least a correction down in the short term. But you'd have to wait and see if we've got a strong candle close above here today. Well, then maybe we're still continuing up, and there is an imbalance over here from the previous decline that may need to be filled. So this could actually go all the way up to fill this imbalance here before then it does its next decline. All right. So it's just getting up to a little bit over. I would say it's getting overextended. Doesn't mean to say it can't continue up. You may want to continue up to fill this area here. All right, that's my thoughts there on the Euro franc for you. All right, everybody, I'm going to wrap it up there. If you have the time, tomorrow I'm going to be going through market trend on my webinar. So just head over to the webinar page and register your interest if you want to join me tomorrow. There it is, how to determine the market trend. That will be 8 p.m. Sydney time tomorrow. So if you have a time, I look forward to seeing you then. Other than that, just be very aware of the news items coming out over the next few days and giving you the levels that I'm watching at the moment and the trends that I'm following. And look forward to seeing you next time. All right, Harry, thanks very much for your comment. Thanks, everybody.